Hey, what's up guys? It's YouTube. This is Pac-Man Trolls with another Magic the Gathering deck tech. This time I will be going over my Simic deck, otherwise known as a green-blue deck. It's pretty good, pretty brutal. Let's get started with this. The land base to start it off is we have two Simic Guild Gates. They enter the battlefield tapped and add a green or a blue mana to your pool. So they're very useful to have in the deck. The land base is a little weird, to be honest, but it's good. It works. We have a Hinterland Harbor. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a forest and or an island. Adds green or blue mana to your pool. It's the second time I've done that today. Breeding Pool is our next blue and green land, a double land. As it enters the battlefield, you can pay 2 life. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. It adds a green or blue mana to your pool. Now we're going to get into the basic lands. We have 8 forest cards. And right there, 8 forest and 8 islands. So altogether in this deck, for the first time probably, I have 20 lands, which is pretty different from my deck techs if you guys have realized or watched my other videos. But it works. Here, we're going to get into the creatures. I have a Triton Shorestalker. It's a 1 blue drop, and it cannot be blocked, and it's a 1/1. That's a great card. I have 3 Shamble Sharks, which are great too. A green and a blue, a green and a blue mana. Flash, so you can cast it like you could cast an instant. And evolve. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under my control, if that creature has a greater power or toughness than this creature, you put a +1/+1 on it. It's a 2/1. It boosts up with every creature that's bigger than it. We have another 2 Golden Hinds. Add green mana to your pool. 1 green, 1 generic. 2/1. Great cards. Good cards against defense with flying are the Basara Tower Archers, 2 green mana, Hexproof and Reach, 2/1. Good cards there. We have a Swordwise Centaur, 3/2 for 2 generic mana, or 2 green mana. Ugh, don't follow that. 2 green mana, and it's a 3/2. We have 2 Agent of Horizons, which are great cards. A green mana and 2 colorless. For 1 blue mana and 2 colorless, it cannot be blocked this turn, and it's a 3/2. We have 2 of them. So those are good cards to have in the deck. We have the Messian Courser, 1 green, 2 colorless, 3/3. We have the Drakewing Krasis, 1 green, 1 blue, and a colorless. Flying and Trample, 3/1. Great card. To get into our 4 drops, we have Illidan Blossoms, 2 green and 2 colorless. Whenever Illidan Blossoms or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. 2/2. Those are good cards, especially for this deck. This card is awesome. It really helps with the getting something out pretty quick. We have the Swarmborn Giant, 2 green and 2 colorless. Whenever you're dealt combat damage, you have to sacrifice it. It has a monstrosity cost of 2 green and 4 colorless for 2 +1/+1 counters on it. And as long as it's monstrous, it has reach, and it's a 6/6. So it becomes an 8/8 with reach, with the monstrous pay. We have another good cards. 2 Fleet Feather Cockatrice, 1 blue, 1 green, and 3 colorless. Flash, so it can cast as an instant. Flying and Death Touch, and Monstrosity 3 for 7 mana. 1 green, 1 blue, and 5 colorless. It gets a 6/6 with Flash and Death, or Flying and Death Touch. 3/3 at the first time though. So yeah, we have 3 more Sealock monsters. These are awesome cards as well. Can't attack unless the defending player controls an island. For the monstrosity cost, it gets a 8/8, 2 blue mana, 5 colorless. When it becomes monstrous, target land becomes an island in addition to its other types, and it becomes an 8/8 It's awesome. And you can make your enemies land an island so that you can attack him. We have two Nessian game wardens. 4 5s, and for 5, 2 green, 3 colorless. Whenever it enters the battlefield under your control, or whenever it enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of forests you control. Reveal a creature card among them, put it into your hand. Put the rest at the bottom of your library in any order. This card I beefed up a lot, and it is perfect for this deck. It's absolutely destructive. Hero's Bane. 5 drop. 2 green and 3 colorless. Whenever it enters the battlefield with 4+1/+1s on it. If you tap 2 green and 2 colorless, you put X +1/+1s where X is its power. So it becomes an 8/8, then a 16/16, then a 32/32. And it just keeps doubling up. I had this card to a 2048 in a game. It's destructive. And Arbor Colossus is one more card we have in here. A 3 green and 2 colorless, so 5. Reach. For monstrosity, it's 3 green and 3 colorless. You could say 3+1/+1s on it. When it's monstrous, it gets to destroy a target creature with flying and opponent controls. It'll be a 9/9 with reach. Flying is very hard to get by within this deck. We have Nessian Asp, which is 1 green and 4 colorless. Reach. Monstrosity 4, so it gets 4+1/+1s, so it becomes a 8/9 with reach. Again, hard to get by. The best card, one of the best cards in the deck, Krufix, God of Horizons. 1 green, 1 blue, and 3 colorless. Indestructible. As long as your devotion to green and blue is less than 7, it's not a creature. You have no maximum hand size. If unused mana would be empty from your mana pool, it becomes colorless instead. And it's a 4/7. I love that card. Archetype of Imagination. 2 blue, 4 colorless. Creatures you control have flying. Creatures your opponents control lose it, cannot have, or gain it. And it's 3/2. Great card. Goldenhide Ox. Another good card. 1 green, 5 colorless. Whenever it or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, target creature must be blocked this turn if able. 5/4. So that's the creature base of the deck. Now let's get into the next big base of the deck that I feel is the enchantments. I have a whole playset of a certain card in here. The Font of Fertility. 1 green mana for all of them. You tap 1 green and 1 colorless, sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. Get your land out, gets it ready to do the damage. We have the Dictate of Krufix. This is a good card and sometimes a bad card. 2 blue and 1 colorless, flash, so it can be casted like an instant. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card, so they draw 2 instead of 1 card each turn. It can be helpful, and it can be bad, because you gotta discard cards. Unless I have God of the Horizons out, then I don't have to worry about it. Bred for the Hunt. 1 green, 1 blue, and 1 colorless. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it deals damage to a player, you may draw a card. Good for your monstrosity cards in the deck, and a great card in general. We have Into the Wilds. 1 green, 3 colorless. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it is a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield. So instead of drawing that card, you would draw it, look at it, put it on the field, draw another card. It's a great card. Let's start out with the more instants of the deck. We have 1 Mending Touch. Green mana, regenerate target creature. Helps to save your creature if they're getting attacked. We have 2 beautiful cards for this deck. Bioshift. 1 blue or 1 green. Move any number of +1/+1 counters from a target creature onto the same creature with the same onto another target creature with the same controller. So let's say I have my Hero's Bane up to a 2048. The opponent plays a destroy target creature spell. Well, let's say I got Bioshift in my hand. I tap the blue mana or the green mana, summon it, move the counters to another creature, and the Hero's Bane dies. but my counters moved all the way over to here, to another creature, saving the attack and the damage. Simple as that. Great card to have in the deck. Hydroform is our next 3 instants, and they are useful. 1 green, 1 blue. Target land becomes a 3/3 elemental creature with flying until end of turn, and it's still a land. 3 of those bad boys. I want 1 more, because that could really help. A Savage Surge. 1 green, 1 colorless. Target creature gets a +2/+2 until end of turn, and untap it. We have Defend the Hearth. 1 green, 1 colorless. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to players this turn. Only players, not creatures. The next and the last instant of our deck is very useful. Mystic Genius. 2 blue, 1 green, 2 colorless. Counter a target spell. Put an XX green ooze creature token onto the battlefield, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. Really want to save that one for a giant spell that's going to really hurt. It'll do damage. Our next and last couple of cards in the deck are 2 sorceries. Time to Feed. 2 of them, 1 green, 2 colorless. Choose a target creature an opponent controls. When the creature dies this turn, you gain 3 life. Target creature you control fights that creature. So each deals damage equal to the power to another. Our last sorcery, Urban Evolution. Great card. 1 green, 1 blue, and 3 colorless. Draw 3 cards. You may play an additional land. And our last 2 artifacts of the deck are 1 Staff of the Mind Magus. Whenever you play a blue spell or island enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life, and it's 3 colorless mana. And 1 Staff of the Wild Magus, 3 colorless mana. Whenever you play a green spell or a forest enters the battlefield under your life, you gain a life. Or under the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. That is my entire Simic deck. I hope you all enjoyed watching the video. This deck runs very well, even with the low amount of land. It's a great deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. Nonetheless, this is Pac-Man Trolls, out. Peace.